going to play the new Pathways game with you guys. This is a new propaganda game that's put out by the UK government. I'm going to talk about some of the things that are actually in the game and whether they are, well, whether the game actually reflects the law, and also whether the game is reflective of UK society as a whole. I'm actually a teacher and have taught law at college level as well. A lot of the Americans playing this game were a bit confused about the UK education system. So this follows Charlie, that is a college student at a college student, and a college is the last 2 years of high school in the USA. So that's why there's confusion about like Charlie being an adult and Charlie not being an adult, and not really understanding why Charlie's like talking to her mum about certain issues. So this is an interactive story game where you choose your path, and it talks about right-wing extremism, but it's very, very stupid, to be honest, because it says that anything that is against the government narrative is essentially right-wing extremism. You get to see this in a bit.
In this game, you will be presented with scenarios that require you to take action, like hearing something hateful while gaming or watching a provocative video on social media. From the 3 alternative options presented, you will use your mouse to select one based on the information given and what outcome you think this will have. The choices you make will determine the route your character takes. Remember to be aware of getting trapped in risky or harmful situations, as the different choices can lead to situations involving extremism and radicalisation, damaging the outcome for your character.
Okay, this is a very Orwellian game, I'm not going to lie. Right, so I'm a woman, so I'll choose this one. This game is really stupid as well, because if you choose a woman or a man, you're given they them pronouns, which is kind of ridiculous. Like, I don't know, I suppose it's like female archetype or male archetype rather than they want to be inclusive. Anyway, so we're going to watch receiving a video while gaming.
Charlie was enjoying an online game with friends.
Okay.
Charlie had not long started attending a new college in East Riding, and they were so relieved to have made new friends, having recently left school. Charlie has started browsing new games and websites that some of the new friends use. Sometimes, though, the people on these websites say things that seem off, even slightly concerning.
Ooh, concerning.
Someone on this website has encouraged Charlie to download a video, but Charlie is unsure.
Right.
How should Charlie react?
So the thing that I really don't get about this, and I've kind of thought about this and I've seen this through other people's playthroughs of the Pathways game, is that the middle option seems like the most appropriate option, because essentially if someone sends you a video and asks you to download it, your most likely thought is, oh, this could be a virus, or it could be laced with some kind of virus that's going to muck up my computer essentially. So the middle option seems the most likely option, but it doesn't go over any of the online safety concerns that you might have as a teen or as a parent looking after teens. If I was doing this, I would probably... I feel like this game is badly designed, because I would highlight maybe the issues with, I don't know, terrorism or so-called terrorism, or what they want to talk about. But I would also highlight the issue with downloading a video from a stranger that you don't know, and that potentially being a virus. But yes, I would choose the middle option.
Charlie questioned the stranger, asking what the video was about.
Okay.
Charlie felt uneasy when the stranger explained that if Charlie cared about the country, they would download the video and share it with as many people as possible. Charlie wasn't sure what to say and didn't contribute anything more to the discussion, instead feeling that perhaps they had missed something on the topic. Luckily, Charlie trusted their instinct and didn't download or share the video. It's important to remember that downloading or streaming certain content can lead to a terrorist offence conviction.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about that. Essentially, a lot of people are very confused on the terrorist conviction. So I don't believe that you should be prosecuted for watching any type of video. That's the first thing I want to just clear up about this, because you don't know why the person's watching the video. So for example, watching the Charlie Kirk assassination could essentially be cause for a terrorist conviction, but most people who watch the Charlie Kirk assassination aren't people who are terrorists. They just are curious about what's going on, right? And want to understand more about what's going on in the world. It's like people that watch ISIS beheading videos. That doesn't mean that they're ISIS members. They might just want to know more about what's going on in the world and understand the understand what people are going through, essentially. So that's the first thing. The second thing I want to say is that the laws surrounding streaming and watching terrorist content are actually quite strict. So it has to be so the law states, and I will put this in the description, that in order to get a conviction for watching terrorist material, it must be a video that you could watch in order to commit an act of terrorism, or if you're intending to commit an act of terrorism. So a video that would be something that could be classed as an act of terrorism within the far right would be something like Bob, let's say, saying at 5 p.m. on Friday, we're going to go to the East Riding Inn, the Holiday Inn in East Riding, and we're going to burn the place down. So that would be something that could be used by someone intending to commit a terrorist conviction. So that kind of video would be something that a lawyer could state, okay, you're watching this in order to commit a terrorist act. However, this game isn't very clear that is the kind of thing that could get you in trouble for watching a terrorist video. It seems to be basically stating that any kind of video which is promoting a right-leaning message, or that is promoting something that could be by the left considered violent and extreme, is something that could put you in jail. So the left, for example, they might consider something that's violent and extreme to be Charlie watching a video by Nick Fuentes that is saying we should deport all the illegal immigrants, right? They might say that is violent and extreme because they don't particularly like the content and because it's a violent act to remove people from your country. So I think that they are using this example of downloading a video to make teens scared to actually watch or download or share any content that is against the government narrative. I think that that's the purpose, essentially. Okay, next clip.
Charlie is receiving an important grade on a piece of work they submitted for their hospitality course at college. Charlie put in a lot of effort for this work and is excited to receive good feedback. Charlie takes a seat in class and waits to get their grade, To their disappointment, Charlie doesn't do as well as they expect. They got 60 out of 100 for their work, but they wanted at least 75 out of 100. To make matters worse, somebody else got 80 out of 100, and the teacher said that this person has received a job offer. Charlie has applied to dozens of jobs, but hasn't had any luck yet. Somebody else in the class tells Charlie that this is proof that immigrants are coming to the UK and taking our jobs.
Okay, so what I wanted to say here is that both in terms of hiring policy and in terms of educational policy, ethnic minority students actually have benefits. So in terms of the education system, and I haven't really heard many people talk about this, I've heard about people talk about DEI, I haven't heard about people talk about it specifically in the education context, and I have been a university lecturer and I have been a college lecturer as well. So at two of the universities that I worked for, we had essentially grading based on a person's ethnicity. So if you were an ethnic minority student and you were in the UK and you were learning at this particular university, they would hike your grades up because they think you're systemically oppressed. And this was spoken about within within a teaching course that I went to, and within a talk around grading. So basically university lecturers will hike students' grades up based on their ethnicity. There are also courses that teachers do, teaching courses, and part of the teaching course includes equity and diversity. And within this course, you're asked to essentially give students who are ethnic minorities more help because they're systemically oppressed. So often it won't simply affect the grading. There are universities that will hike students' grades up if they're ethnic minorities. But normally what happens is teachers are taught to give special treatment to ethnic minority students. So what will happen is if Charlie needs help with a particular assignment, and I don't know if we call this ethnic minority student Sherry, let's say, and Sherry needs help with her assignment, and they're both asking the teacher for help at the same time, the teacher will give Sherry extra help on her assignment as opposed to Charlie. And that will inherently up the grades of Sherry, but obviously disadvantage Charlie. So yeah, they do that kind of thing, and they encourage teachers to do that kind of thing. It's normally downstream of grading. It's normally just giving the students extra help if they're an ethnic minority student, which I don't think is fair at all. I wanted to go through agreeing with a comment.
Charlie approached the classmate angrily. They agreed with the ideas and began shouting about them in class. The teacher let Charlie know that the school has a zero tolerance on hate speech. The teacher was concerned by Charlie's outburst and tried to get to the bottom of it. Charlie became more agitated and ended up having to sit alone for the duration of the week's lessons because of the hurtful things they said.
Okay, so this is a really interesting one. I have learnt recently about non-crime hate incidents, which I found really interesting. So a non-crime hate incident is anything which is that is towards a particular group of people or a person, and it is considered by that person to be discriminatory based on their race, or ethnicity or other protected characteristic, or it's considered by the police to be discriminatory based on their race, ethnicity, or other characteristic. So this one essentially would mean that if she said, for example, that I don't know the name of the ethnic minority student, but if she said, for example, that Sherry only got this grade because she is black and there are discriminatory practices within the university against white students, which there are, such as giving them higher grades just because they are an ethnic minority, or giving them extra help just because they're an ethnic minority, then essentially that could be argued as a non-crime hate incident, which is horrendous, really. It's horrendous to think that anything remotely political that you say could be considered to be a non-crime hate incident. I just think non-crime hate incident should be abolished, to be honest. But yeah, you can have a look in the description. There's any links that I talk about, I'll put in the description below.
Charlie has been chilling out all afternoon. They've been scrolling on social media. They spot a video that seems to be getting a lot of attention. Charlie watches the video and learns from the video that Muslim men are stealing the places of British war veterans in emergency accommodation. In the video, they explain that the government is betraying white British people and we need to take back control of our country.
Okay, so this is actually true. The government spends much more money on refugees, emergency accommodation for refugees, than they do on veterans. They spend billions of pounds every year on emergency accommodation, just emergency accommodation, I have to admit, for refugees. However, they only have a few £1 million in their budget to actually protect veterans. So essentially, it is true that refugees are taking the places of veterans in emergency accommodation. I mean, the government puts much more money into refugees and emergency accommodation. The second thing that I have heard of, and I'll link this in the description below, is that there was a whole area of council houses that were taken up by veterans, and the government removed these veterans from these council houses and actually invited refugees to live there instead. So that again is true. I will put that news report in the description below as well. The thing that I don't like about this is, and this is probably the worst bit of this game. So I'm going to click B and I'll show you what happens.
Charlie wasn't sure if this video was true. But the recent other encounters made them curious. Charlie went directly to the account's website and found research papers, statistics, information about protests and more regarding the replacement of white people. They continued browsing and encountered lots of harmful groups who agree with these sentiments. Charlie began intaking a lot of harmful ideological messages. In fact, some of the groups were actually illegal.
Wow. I think that it is horrendous that the government is promoting not getting more information about a particular subject, right? If Charlie sees something online that she doesn't know whether it's true or not, she should be encouraged to actually get more information online on this particular subject and do her own research on a particular subject so that she knows whether that particular what someone's saying online is true or not. Essentially, the government is encouraging her to turn a blind eye to any information that goes against the government message, and I think that is horrendous. It shows the amount of propaganda in this game. I think that if you ever have anyone that says to you, "Oh, you shouldn't go out and find more information about this particular subject if you don't believe me," right? Then you should run a mile away from that person. Like they clearly don't have your best interest at heart. They're clearly trying to influence you to agree with their propaganda, and I think that that's an horrendous thing to say to young people.
Charlie has been enjoying a family dinner at home when they receive a notification from their friend. Charlie's mum makes a comment about using phones at the dinner table, but Charlie checks in anyway. Amelia, Charlie's close friend, has made a video encouraging young people in Bridlington to join a political group that seeks to defend English rights. Amelia encourages Charlie to join a secret group on an app Charlie hasn't heard of before. Charlie isn't sure whether to join, explore further, or ignore. Charlie thought the video the friend posted was so funny. They couldn't believe how many likes Amelia's memes were getting. It was inspiring. Charlie joined the secret group on this new platform. Their phone wouldn't stop buzzing with messages of support and invitations to participate in several similar groups. Charlie's mum was not so pleased and grew suspicious of all this new activity their child seemed to be involved in.
Okay, I mean, I think it's ridiculous again that she can't join a right-leaning group, which is sharing memes or, I don't know, and trying to get people active about nationalism. I just think that that's ridiculous. And again, I think this whole thing is ridiculous. She hasn't done anything, and she doesn't do anything that is against that is illegal at all. I mean, she joins a group for right-leaning people who are concerned about immigration, and she does something else in a minute. But yeah, she hasn't done anything bad or that isn't part of her democratic right as a citizen.
Charlie was seeing their dad at the weekend. He lives in Hull, so their weekends look very different to their weekdays in East Riding. Charlie's friend Amelia immediately looked interested and told them about a protest she wished she could go to herself, but was not allowed. Amelia spoke of a gathering that had been organised by a small political group. They would come together and protest the changes that Britain has been through in the last few years and the erosion of British values. Amelia talked about the banners and the pickets that her friends had made for the events and expressed a real regret that she could not go, begging Charlie to go in her place. Charlie has nothing to do this weekend, and a protest sounded like an interesting thing to take part in. Charlie decided this would be a good use of their time. Considering all the things they had seen and heard over the last few weeks, it would be good to express their feelings about it with like-minded individuals. They went home and made a banner to take with them to the protest. Charlie arrived at the protest and was swept up by the atmosphere. It was great to see so many people there. Everything was going well until Charlie almost became involved in a fight by accident. The police saw they were part of a group and took their details. Charlie was frightened by this not knowing if their parents would be informed.
Right. So again, I think that this is really ridiculous. She simply went to a protest, and I don't think that protesting should be seen negatively. I mean, I don't. I mean, she has every right to go to a protest, even outside migrant hotels, and protest about what's happening to our country, and about the amount of immigration that is in our country, and how that's leading to issues like more young women being raped by migrants, like violent crime, like the fact that a lot of these, like the fact that the UK isn't doing very well economically, and we don't have enough money to also give to refugees as well. I think that this is completely ridiculous that she can't go to a protest, or that going to a protest against the amount of refugees in the country is seen as a bad thing. It shouldn't be seen as a bad thing at all.
Charlie thought about all the difficult choices they had needed to make in the last few weeks. Some of their choices had led to changes in friendship, and Charlie was feeling low, as they weren't sure if they had made the right decisions. The teacher had noticed this and decided to reach out. The teacher sat with them and talked openly and frankly about the ideology that Charlie had discovered. The teacher reassured that Charlie wouldn't be in trouble, and they would receive support for some of the difficult thoughts they had been having. Charlie accepted they may need support. Charlie's teacher made a prevent referral, and they were able to provide tailored support for Charlie. They began a workshop that helped them learn how to engage positively with ideology and the differences between right and wrong in expressing political beliefs. Charlie received counselling to help them process the other events in their life, and they felt much better for it.
God, I just think that this is ridiculous, to be honest. I don't think that you should be, and I wouldn't do this with any of my students, but there are teachers that I think would definitely do this with their students at college level and at university level. I don't think that you should just be taken and re-educated into believing that immigration as our strength and diversity as our strength, that kind of thing, by the government, just because you're against migrant hotels, just because you have concerns about the migrant rape crisis, just because you have concerns about the amount of violent crime by refugees, just because you have concerns about the fact that we have a cost of living crisis, and that you think that the money that's going to refugees should go to our own people. I don't think that you should be taken in and re-educated to think that refugees are great and things by our government. I think that this is really ridiculous. And it's kind of, this game is, I mean, I've seen people play this game, and I've seen people have a go at this game, but the government has had this kind of propaganda within classrooms for the last 6 years. Since the new sex and relationships education that was put out in 2019, I think it was, we've had this kind of rhetoric. Whenever you listen to teenagers being taught about equity and inclusion, they're always taught about how black people are oppressed because of systemically oppressed because of their race. There's no consideration that black people might have a different work ethic, or that that black people might be going into lower level. I mean, there's a lot of, in the UK, there's a lot of black immigrants that decide to go into lower level unskilled careers within the UK. So they decide to work in factories and things. There's no consideration of the fact that black people might not be systemically oppressed, but that it might just be differences in the careers that they want to go into, or that differences in work ethic and that kind of thing. So there's no discussion or consideration around those kind of things. It's always very much a focus on black people are systemically oppressed, refugees are great, diversity is our strength, immigration is great for the country. We've had this kind of narrative within the UK education system for the last 6 years. And around, I think it was, they also have this kind of rhetoric surrounding abortion as well. I have created a video which is looking at a leaflet that the UK government put out to teach in schools, which is about abortion, and it's how abortion is great, essentially. And you can have my reaction to that video down below. My reaction to the leaflet down below. So yeah, the UK government is horrendous in terms of the rhetoric that they're putting on young people.
Charlie was referred to Prevent and Channel. Charlie was assigned a mentor to help them one-to-one, someone who had been in their shoes. They were reluctant at first, but gradually warmed to their mentor, forming trust with them, having heard and understood the similarities between them. The mentor was honest about the dangers of following a harmful ideology, and the message resonated with Charlie. Charlie had been informed of the support they would receive from Prevent, including skills support and family sessions. With all these gentler interventions, Charlie was able to rebuild their confidence, find their identity, and continue their college course successfully.
Yeah. Again, essentially, this is just British propaganda. It is horrendous. I don't think that you should be essentially re-educated just because you have reasonable views on immigration, which the majority of the public have. I did do a bit of research into the extent to which, because again, this kind of rhetoric has been around for the last 6 years within the UK. It's just this game and the fact that you're able to publicly access this game has made people more aware of the propaganda which is in UK schools. But I did a little bit of research, and games like this and the kind of rhetoric that people who are against mass immigration or want to reduce the number of refugees in the country or want to deport the refugees in the country are racist bigots, for example. The kind of rhetoric that pushes in schools, the influence it's actually had on young people is quite interesting. So compared to my age group, which is 25 to 34 year olds, 18 to 24-year-olds, which will have experienced some form of this propaganda within their education, because this kind of propaganda has been around for the last 6 years or so. They are actually slightly more likely, just marginally more likely, I think it's 2 percentage points more likely than people in my age group, which is 25 to 34 year olds, to be to think immigration's a good thing. But overwhelmingly, a much higher percentage of them are unsure about the immigration question, are unsure about whether immigration is good for the country or whether immigration disadvantages the country in some way. which is very interesting. And I think this kind of makes sense, because if you're pushing propaganda that all of the people against mass immigration are bigots and racists and horrible people, the majority of young people probably think that actually maybe this is what the teachers believe, but it doesn't actually necessarily. But maybe I don't really understand enough about the other side's viewpoints to really call them racist, bigots, that kind of thing, which makes sense. If you're kind of like, if someone keeps on telling you that a certain group of people are bad and you don't know why they believe what they believe, then it's fair enough for you to just say, oh, well, I don't really know enough about the immigration question to say, which is what most young people are saying. And also, I suppose the other thing is that by having a kind of neutral ground on immigration, by saying you don't know whether immigration is a good thing for society or a bad thing for society, you're able to kind of, you're not going to be called a racist essentially by your teachers, or I don't know if their parents are probably against immigration, but you're not going to be called a racist by your teachers or be referred to Prevent. And I think that there is a certain worry within young people about saying things that go against the mainstream narrative, because they're worried that they will maybe be ostracized by their peers or ostracized by their teachers or re-educated by Prevent. So yeah, I think that that's a kind of concern for young people as well. Well, thanks for playing this game with me. It's quite interesting. And yes, I hope to see you in the next one.